All right, welcome to the daily stock market recap for Monday, July 21st. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the action out of the indexes, liquid leaders, industry ETFs, then end the video with some long and short setups, just like we do every daily recap. I also want to take some time and go over my general watch list because we did see some major reversals today, especially out of the hyper growth, hyper speculative names. So, wanted to look at a couple of those and then just kind of plot out what that might mean for the market. Before we get started, I do want to shout out Deepvue. It's the platform that I use for these videos, along with my trading, research, screening, charting, all that good stuff. Is running a promotion through July 27th where you can sign up and get a 1 month free trial, completely free, completely risk free. You don't even have to put in your credit card information to try it. So that's going to be in the pinned comment there. And if you do give it a shot, make sure you use those other links in that same comment so you can download my watch lists, my screens, column sets, and data panel. So you can use the platform exactly how I do. All right, let's jump into it today. QQQ, solid day. If you just look at the indexes, up another 0.5% with a gap up. We opened on the low, closed middle part of the range for another new all-time high. Great action from the indexes because we did see a lot of rotation into mega caps, which I'll get to with some of the industry ETFs, but S&P 500 also solid day, up 0.2%. We did close right on the low of the day, daily closing range of 13%, so obviously pretty weak there. We still had a slight gap up. We're still above all the key moving averages, and we made new highs today. So on an index level, it's hard to get too bearish with that type of action. The growth stocks out of the Russell 2000, that's the ticker IWO, second week weak candle here where we opened near the high, closed near the low, had another gap up, open near the high, closed near the low, right on the 10-day moving average. And this is a small sign that this rally might start to get a little bit tougher to trade. If we lose the 10-day moving average, as long as we kind of hold the 20-day, I think it's fine. But I've noticed my trading does a lot better if we're trading over the 20-day EMA on IWO. So I'm using that as kind of my line in the sand of trading stuff on the long side. ARKK also, this kind of showed the reversal in the market where we opened with a gap up, we made new highs, and then we reversed, closed on the low of the day. This still above the 5-day, still above the support gap, only down 1% today. So not horrible by any means. Could just be kind of a consolidation day or just like more of a risk off day in the market overall, but still acting fine. And then Bitcoin continues to pull back into that 10-day EMA. We have lower highs, lower lows, a little bit of weakness, potentially a lower high bounce here. And then we'll see how the 10-day average gets controlled there, or if we have to pull back into the 20-day, that would be fine for me as well. Next, we'll take a look at the liquid leaders and just go by price percent change. Roblox, one of the strongest stocks in the market, did make a new all-time high today, or at least 52-week high today, excuse me, and did close slightly positive, up 0.05% on the day. Did squat a little bit, but you can see lately this has gone starting to accelerate to the upside, which is usually a sign that the rally is coming to a close after some big bars. This could still have another couple up bars to really extend the move, but this is our first sign that this move might be coming to an end. We're starting to get some volume, high volume churning without price action moving forward. But you could also argue that that's some relative strength today compared to the rest of the market, and we'll be on our way higher. So we'll see if this breaks to the downside and we actually get confirmation lower. FUTU, leading stock out in China, really great action today, just tight, well above the 5-day moving average, so not doing anything wrong there. NVIDIA down 0.5%, still above the 5-day moving average and no gap down. Very low volume on the pullback today, which is perfect. Coming into that 10-day moving average, or even if we do have a market pullback, the low of this support gap and the 20-day EMA that would catch up to that, that would be a really nice risk reward spot to try some. RCL, we gapped lower, rallied, and then reversed. We closed under Friday's gap up zone, still above the 5-day and a light volume pullback day today, only down 1%. GEV down 1.5%. Opened with the gap up, closed near the low of the day, into that support gap and 5-day moving average. We'll see how that gets supported tomorrow. Coinbase had a pretty big extension reversal on Friday. Inside candle today on lighter volume, still above the 5 day. Red candle closes above the 5 day on light volume. To me, just means consolidation. I don't know if this move is over. If we get a gap up and take out today's high, I think we could have another extension before this needs to calm down because Bitcoin's still just at a 10-day moving average. So I don't look at today's action as too bad. It's a little bit weak overall, but it's still above the 5 day and pulled back on light volume today. SoFi, a little bit weaker, down 3%. Had weakness on Friday, closing red candle close above the 5 day. And then we followed through to the downside today, closing on the lows. Volume was relatively light, but this does look like maybe a pullback into this gap zone or even the 20 day over the next couple sessions would be fine. Robinhood, uppercut the opening price, or sorry, the closing price on Friday, then reversed, closed at the low of the day at the 5 day moving average, down about 5%, 4.9%. And then RKLB topped so far on Thursday, inside candle bouncing at the 5 day on Friday, and then following through to the downside. Now this is kind of looking like a hanging man candle because we did get follow through to the downside, closing under the low of that candle and the 5 day moving average. Just another sign that momentum might be drying up a bit. And before we get into the industry ETFs, we'll just jump into the watch list. I've got this sorted by price percent change from the open. So you can see that we did have quite some large reversals in the growth names. AEVA, this has made a massive move this year from $2 up to $40. Was one of the first growth names to have a breakdown day on July 1st. Then we kind of traded sideways, and this is like a secondary breakdown day under the 20-day moving average. So for me, we'll just see how the 50-day moving average and support gap hold, but this is a warning sign. I'll go through the others faster. RDW down 14% from the open, rejected on that resistance gap. ACHR down 11% from the open, down to the 10-day. DAVE, another software name that was a leader this past market cycle, um, ran from $5 up to 250, 280, excuse me, then started breaking down. Now this looks like a lower high rejection of the 20-day EMA, which is obviously not a good sign. QS down 10% from the open, and it actually gapped down at the open. So that's uh, maybe a potential extension before earnings. We have earnings on Wednesday after the close there. And then the nuclear theme definitely pulled back. A lot of bearish engulfing candles there that had gap ups like SMR down 10.5% from the open under the 5 day moving average. LEU down 10% under the 5 day. OKLO down 10% under the 5 day. And then SOUN down 10%. SYM down 9.6. And then you just get the general feel. We did get some major reversals, even in the quantum names, which I thought were set to go a lot higher. QUBT down 9% from the open, losing the 5, the 10, the 20-day moving average. P6 down 8%. MP down 7.4% from the open. So a lot of these speculative names had some big reversals today, and we also saw the stock OPEN, which was one of those speculative names in 2020, 2021 that had a massive move, and kind of feels like we're in that market again where speculative names are just going straight up. And this had the highest volume ever, 1.7 billion, was actually up over 100% today. And then intraday got halted to the downside, lost 40% of its value. We'll go to a 5 minute chart here. You see monster rally up through these resistance gaps, and then within 10 minutes, it dropped 40%. And now it looks like it's resolving lower after hours as well. When you get a move like that, like that by itself, who cares? It's just one stock. But with all the other growth stocks kind of reversing, some themes reversing, crypto on Friday, nuclear today, it does feel like the market is getting a little bit tougher overall. But one thing, if we look back on some of the action out of the indexes, whenever we've had these reversals, we've only had like one day where it pulls back and then we resolve to the upside, or two or three tight trading days and then we resolve to the upside. We'll see if we actually get a gap down on the indexes and push lower. Otherwise, because positioning of NAAIM is only at 83%, I could see us like more churn here where some of the very extended names gets pulled back. We see rotation into the mega caps. Meta had a good day. Amazon, Google had a great day today. And we just kind of rotate from super risky to less risky liquid mega cap stocks. Maybe software and cybersecurity gets a bid, gets supported there as well. And then the market kind of churns instead of just completely falls apart here. So we'll take this day by day. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but today definitely felt like a little warning sign. Now we'll go to the industry ETFs. Just want to cover a couple here. Gold miners, GDX up 3.6%. I wasn't quite sure how this was looking, but we tested the 50-day moving average on Friday, and then gapped up and rallied today up 3.6% right into this resistance gap. It actually looks like a pretty good looking chart at this point. So we'll see if that gets going higher. Solar stocks, TAN, tried to make a big move in the morning, did reverse with the rest of some of the growth stocks. Still finished today up 1%. And I still think this flag is structurally sound. So if the market hangs in there, this is probably a group to focus on. XRT actually had some decent strength. Stocks like ANF, Victoria's Secrets, those are two on like my short watch list that I track every day. And they actually had some good relative strength today. So just wanted to point that out. FDN, the internet fund. This is like heavily with Meta, and I think Google as well. Great action today. Gap up, open on the low, close near the high at new highs. And then cybersecurity, we talked about this over the weekend. First time coming back into the 50-day moving average, typically gets supported. So far it has. We've rallied back through the key moving averages and had relative strength today. If the market does pull back and we just pull back into a higher low, I think this is a theme to watch for another run, along with IGV, kind of similar action. Ugly Thursday and Friday 2 weeks ago, then rallied right back into highs, which is overall a good thing. Some weakness, biotech continues to uppercut and fail at this resistance gap. Today we followed through to the downside, losing. I guess we closed under the 10-day, but secondary close under the 10-day. Now we're right into the 20-day moving average and this gap zone. We'll see if that gets supported. XLV just continues, the healthcare ETF continues to waterfall down. Not a good look overall. And then NLR, this was the nuclear and uranium theme, bearish engulfing candle on an uptick in volume. We did still close at the 5-day, so it's not the end of the world yet, but this is definitely like a warning signal. Now, if that follows through, then we can all point back at this day and say, oh, yeah, it was obvious that this was the top. But we've had some ugly candles like this before that we just pull back for a day or two and then resolve higher. So, again, we'll take this day by day. Going into the long setups, I've got 8 to go over. SEDG, this was one on the watch list coming into today. Good gap up and rally. If you didn't catch that, completely fine. I would just be looking for a pullback into the 10-day moving average and the gap zone low for an upper or undercut and rally of that area. And at that point, I would try to size it a little bit larger because it's a leading stock and a leading theme for me. So whenever you have that and you get a undercut of a key moving average and gap zone, you can get some nice risk reward there. Meta, I covered this earlier. We got this big 50% cup. Now we're putting in the handle with some shakeouts under the 20-day. Good gap up today. That was buyable, like on the open. Now just looking for a higher low pullback into the support gap at 704 area there. Snowflake, going with that software theme that I think could have a secondary run. Just looking for a pullback, higher low into the 212 gap, and then manage the risk against either the low of the pullback or the 50-day moving average, ideally both after some consolidation. AS, this keeps riding the 20-day EMA higher and higher for the higher lows. So we're right there at this moment. Pretty good risk reward spot versus Friday's shakeout. Or if we get a gap up, that's buyable versus today's low for some tight risk. RBRK, another software name, one of the first names to kind of top in this market cycle. We ran from 50 to 100, so 100% rally. Now just consolidating. We've rallied into the 50-day, and now we're putting in like a high, hopefully a higher low here. A day tightening up would be A plus, but just through today's high, stop at today's low would be a potential entry there. IONQ, this is a quantum name that had an ugly day today, but it did so on lighter volume than Friday. closed under the 5-day moving average and at the lows. This, I'm looking for a gap up to play versus today's low and the 10-day moving average, and just try to get some exposure in this really good VCP pattern, volatility contraction. We got the big cup, smaller cup handle, whichever way you want to call it. You can see volatility is drying up here, and that volatility will resolve itself in one direction or the other. Hopefully, it resolves itself to the upside. I own RGTI, so that would give that a boost. But today's definitely kind of like an ugly day. So we'll see a gap up versus today's low is the trade there. Robinhood, a little bit early to put this on the watch list, but because it is to me the leader in the market, I will be watching an undercut of the 10-day moving average, the round number of 100, and the support gap down here. Getting to 98, like 30, would be a really good risk reward spot versus the 20-day moving average. And if it breaks to the downside, you have really tight risk on it. But to me, this is the market leader. And the first time it hasn't pulled back to the 20-day moving average once this upcycle. So first test of the 20-day, I am going to be forced to buy it. And then GRAB, I haven't marked this chart up too much yet. But after hours, this was trading up near 575. So we're right near this base breakout. And when you gap out of a base, that can have really, really powerful action. And if today was just kind of like a reversal shakeout in the market, and you have a stock gapping out of a base like this, and then we go right back to risk on, that can make some major moves. So we'll keep GRAB on the watch list long. On the short side, MYYT we'll start with. This has earnings tomorrow morning. This has been on the short watch list for like multiple weeks now. Huge run from 23 up to 125. That's the stage two uptrend. Now we've gone through stage three topping phase. We have plenty of resistance gaps, gap downs. Now we're just looking for like a news to really spark a break into the stage four downtrend. If earnings comes in poor and we get a gap down, then I will be trying to play an opening range break and just kind of holding for a bigger move there. NEGG, I still think that this is just kind of toast at this point. It's already made its big move from 3 up to $52 in like 2 months. Had an initial gap down, secondary gap down, rally and uppercut at that resistance gap, and then follow through today. This is one where if we just get like a little gap up and then we roll and take out the intraday VWAP, that would be an add-on or a initial short versus the high of tomorrow, whatever that price would be. LAES, more of a speculative name that didn't quite get up to the recent highs. Like you'll see a lot of these names that went nuts in December, like put in a cup and like get right back near highs, IONQ, RGTI, bunch of other names. LAES never really did that. It did have a nice move from 230 up to like 450 for about 100%, but now we put in a gap down. We got really tight on the 20-day, then had a wedge drop, rallied back up, uppercut and failed at that wedge drop area, and then followed through the downside, losing the 50-day moving average today. So I kind of think this is toast if especially if or not volatility, if speculation and momentum starts to dry up in the market. This is one that I would try to ride lower. Just looking for an uppercut and fail of the 50-day moving average and 350 there. BMNR, another weak day, down 5.7%. This was on the short watch list going into the week as well. Huge move from 3 up to 160. 2 days of volume churn to get retail all hyped in the stock while everyone, like all the traders that knew what they were doing was probably selling into that area. Then we had this death bar down 40% one day, down 30% the next day. And because we had these two churning days at highs, you just create so much selling pressure on any mini rally. We had like a mini rally from the 50-day up to the 10-day or up to the resistance gap that failed, another lower high, another lower high. And if momentum is drying up in the market, this is probably just going to collapse here. So through today's low is another short spot. DFDV, one of the DeFi names that wasn't making new highs recently, like put in its high on May 22nd, then lower high, secondary lower high. Lost the 20-day moving average today. We saw 3 days of distribution, uh, one to get to the 5 day, one to get through the 5 and the 10, and then today through the 20. Just looking for like a gap up and then loss of today's close as an entry. ZEPP. This could, you could argue this on the long side or the short side, honestly. We've just been consolidating at the 5 day moving average and gap zone on light volume. This could definitely have another bar like this. So if we get a gap up, I would be looking for potentially like a long trade. I might not trade it, but I'll definitely use it as evidence of momentum coming back in the market if we get something like that. But kind of similar to BMNR, not nearly the same amount of volume, but we have this big rally from 2 to 15, so like 750%, and then we churn here. And it's not like horrible volume. It's not big volume, so I don't think it'll have the same selling pressure as BMNR, but we're starting to see no progress, just trading sideways. And then if we do get momentum drying up and follow through in the market to the downside, I think this could quickly break and come back into this gap for like 30%. And then OPEN, we talked about this earlier in the stream. Massive move already. Highest volume, I believe, ever on this big reversal. Liquid enough to actually trade with some size. On the short side, we're just looking for an intraday like mini rally, loss of VWAP, short that versus the high of the day. And still like this could have like a day or two where it wedges up. That would be like perfect action. So when you're playing these high momentum names and you're trying to play the reversal, always stay on the right side of the VWAP. Like if you get in and price immediately starts running on you and gets over the volume weighted average price, I just get out because these shown you, it showed you today, it can move 100% on you to the upside. So if you're stubborn on your shorts, these are not the plays for you. Just don't even try them. But if you can be tactical and honor your stop losses, this is a name that can roll over and um, move pretty quick. TSIX, another, I think this is an energy name. Let me just check the data panel. Capital goods. Interesting. Okay. Um, but big rally from 18 up to 100, uppercut and failed at 100 today. Closed still at the 5 day moving average, but you could see volume kind of picking up on some of these distribution days. I I wouldn't be surprised if this has like another move higher because the market held up, like the general market held up so well today. And usually tops are a process versus a single like day in the market. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get like a gap up and another move higher. But with this type of volume coming in on the reversal, I think it's kind of nearing the end of its move, at least in the short term. So just looking for like an intraday break of a VWAP or the daily low, and then try to play it to the 20-day moving average at 71. PTHL, I've talked about this the last couple videos. I think this is one of those Chinese stocks like OST scam down 93% in a day. PCLA scam down 88% or whatever it was on one day. And I just keep shorting just like a couple more shares each day when they become available. And we'll just look for one of those big breaking moves. But you really saw volatility pick up here, but without like true price action, like changing volumes picking up. We had the highest volume ever on the 17th, and we really haven't chosen a direction since. We've just kind of wedged higher. So we'll look for some like a volume spike in the morning session, and then a loss of UAP, and then try to play it for the move down. And finally, UPXI. I did get short this today on an uppercut and fail of $10. The resistance gap right there. Great action overall on that move. And now we see the highest volume ever on that reversal. Ugly close under the 50-day, and we'll just look for a gap down to press those shorts for UPXI. So that's going to be the daily market recap. Overall, we saw a lot of reversals in growth names, speculative names, mega caps actually saw some good rotation. Now we're looking software, security, software and cybersecurity as two other groups that could get rotation and keep this market running. But if we do get followed through to the downside, especially in the growth names, it's time to play some defense. We've had an incredible last 3 months, and you don't want to keep fighting and trying to buy when momentum is drying up and you're getting evidence of that. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Tune in for tomorrow's video. If you guys liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Take care.